Hey, so I'm literally just getting back home. I finished from work and I had dinner with Danielle at London Grind in London Bridge. I'm gonna put some photos here where I'll pat my face so that you know where I'm talking about. And I just got home now. I'm so tired, like literally. It's 9:25 p.m. I've been at work all day. I think I left my house by like past 8 a.m. and now it's past 9 a.m. and I'm just getting back home. And I have this newfound respect for YouTubers because I was telling Danielle today, recording videos is actually so difficult. Like, you think it's easy, all I have to do is get a camera on and talking to the camera. I already know the topics I want to talk about, so I can, you know, get those out. I can even do like 20-30 videos a day, and then you start and it's so difficult to even get out one because you need energy. So if you've watched my February ASOS haul, you would have seen that I bought this lipstick basically yesterday. So I wore it to work today and it's the first time of me wearing it outside my house. It's also the first time in a long time that I've just like worn red lipstick. A lot of lipsticks I've worn historically have been dark purple, but I decided to just wear red today because, to be honest, I looked in the mirror and I liked what I saw. So I remember asking myself, why don't I wear red lipsticks? And I remembered that it was because of this really like salty statement I had some random black guy on the internet make probably 8 years ago, where he was like, oh, red lipstick on black women is so yucky, like, we know it's not your natural lips, like, y'all look like vampires. And I probably just had that statement in my head for a long time and like never questioned it, because like I then just grew up, or rather from like 16 to 24, 25, just never considering red lipsticks, because I had this like statement in my mind that, like, you know, it doesn't look good on like dark skinned women, and like the best you can get is like maybe dark purple that looks more according to your skin tone. But it wasn't really up until yesterday that it clicked that that stupid statement I read online was what has been, you know, not even letting me wear red lipstick for the longest of times. Not because I actually wore it and thought it looked weird, because there's different shades of red, and like this one I think looks really good on my skin. Obviously there are other ones that would look really garish on you, but it was very interesting that for the first time in forever I actually stopped to ask myself, why don't I wear red lipsticks, or like, why do I think I shouldn't wear red lipsticks? And then I realized that it was because of that rubbish. And I was really young, so at that time I didn't really know that there were echo chambers of like black men and black guys who literally, that's what they do online. They just sit down and tear apart black women and tear apart their appearances, etc. I didn't know that then, right? So for me it was like a random thing I saw, and maybe my fear of judgment just kicked in, and like it became one of this many beliefs we have in life that we don't question, but actually they root from someone who said something rubbish years ago. But now obviously I'm grown and I understand that these echo chambers do exist. There's so many groups of them online. They even have podcasts nowadays, and all they do is sit down and like bash black women and bash their appearances and bash their hair and their skin and their routine and their clothes, everything, attitude, behavior. Now obviously at this age I don't put much weight to it. You can say whatever you want, that's your business. But I think because I was quite young and naive, I didn't realize that was existing. And so like I think I just took that in instead of questioning it and being like, actually, hold up, why is a grown man like he's sitting down in his house and typing about how women look like vampires with lipstick on? Like, is anyone forcing you to wear lipstick? Like, what's your business? It's so fucking weird. Anyway, I deviate. What I'm going to talk about today, completely unrelated to lipstick actually, is the 10 bold career moves you can make in 2022. I'm actually going to look at my notes now, because oftentimes at the beginning of a video I will say like a number and it will never actually be that number. So I've just looked at my notes and I think I actually wrote down 14. So scratch that. This video is going to be about 14 bold career moves you can make in 2022. Now, I'm not saying that I've done these 14 things, by the way, and I'm not saying I have the plans to do them, but I do think they are great ideas, and so I'm sharing it with you. And most of them have also been supported by various other professionals. So let's get started. Number one, join a professional organization. And when we say professional organization, we're not talking about Facebook groups or LinkedIn, even though that's fine as well. We're talking about professional bodies. So for example, at the moment, I work in a consulting firm and my specialty is insurance. So I've recently started taking professional exams toward the Chartered Institute of Insurers, like their professional qualification. And that is a professional body, because what happens is you can meet other people within the professional organization, you can network with people, participate in forums, get qualifications, go to events, etc. So there's this thing people talk about. It's like people wait too late in their careers to join this professional organization. They wait till they get to senior management, whereas actually you don't need to. You can join as soon as you've left university. In fact, you don't even need to go to school to join most professional organizations. If you're 16 and you know that you want to work in investment banking, join an investment banking organization. If you even accounting, where you need to be a professional accountant or qualified accountant, you can even still join as an affiliate member of all these bodies like the ACCA, etc. So no matter what stage you are in your career right now, think about what is this, what is the industry that I want to focus on, or what is the skill set, let's say digital marketing, I want to focus on. What are the main industry organizations, industry bodies, professional bodies in that area, and what can I do to join? A lot of them tend to have yearly membership fees, but if you just pay that, you can get involved in a lot of things they have going on. And I will say the best part is the networking events, because you meet people who think like you, who are like you, who want the same thing you want out of your professional life. You can make friends, align goals, and yeah, it's just generally a good idea. The second bold career move you can make in 2022 is to join an active networking site. So there isn't any clear-cut definition of an active networking site, but let me give you an example. LinkedIn is said to be a networking site, but I find it quite passive. A lot of times we add people as LinkedIn contacts and then it ends there. There's no engagement that continues, right? So we just have a bunch of people as our LinkedIn contacts and that's where it ends. However, there are some other sites where you can actively meet people who are very interested in networking with other professionals. And when I mean they're actively interested in networking with other professionals, like way more interested than the average person you'd see on LinkedIn. So an example of this was 2018. I joined a site called Shapr, SHAPR. And this is not a sponsored video, by the way. To be honest, let me just give this disclaimer now. 99% of the things you're going to hear me mention in this channel, they're not being sponsored. It's just my life. So Shapr worked like Tinder. You'd see someone's picture, you'd see someone's details. In this case, it would be like where they work, if they want to put that information, but mostly like their profession and what they're looking for in that app. So it could be either you're looking to network, or you're looking for a coach, or you're just looking to meet other people, or you want to start a business, that kind of thing. And you'd see someone's profile and you have the option to either swipe left or swipe right? And for me, I made a very active approach to this. So I would, anytime I was interested in someone's profile, I would swipe right, and they would give nudges as well to start the conversation. And for me, I always went with a nudge that said, nice to meet you. I'm very interested in connecting with you. Would you be up for a meeting for coffee this next week, right? And I live in London, so it was very easy for me to meet other people from London. And I met quite a few people. A lot of times we just had like maybe one coffee, maybe two coffees. It also wasn't really packed with people who were trying to sell you stuff. It was actually normal, people like myself who just had jobs and wanted to meet other people. And I would say I've met 3 good people from that app, or rather I met 3 good people from that app. 2 of them are more like acquaintances. One's a fund manager in investment management. Another one's a boy who works as part of a startup and just finished his MBA in Oxford recently. And by the way, I'm talking like he literally just finished now, but by 2018 he wasn't doing that yet. So he was just someone who at the time was about to quit his job from a bank and was about to start his own startup. That didn't work out in the end, but now he's doing an MBA at Oxford. He joined another startup. And then the third person is one of my very close friends now, who actually featured in my music video like last Christmas. Like, that's how close we've become. And one of the reasons why is because once we swiped each other right and we started talking, we realized we work in the same company, because I work for a very large company with hundreds of thousands of people globally. And so it just happened to be that I matched with her, and she actually also works in the London office of my company, and we met, and our interests are very aligned. Like, we're very into like business creation, entrepreneurship, etc. Oh, funny, I'm talking about Danielle. I didn't even realize that I was talking about Danielle, like, and I actually just had dinner with her today. But literally, that just shows you, like, you know, I met her on an app, on a business networking site in 2018, and it's now been what, like, coming to 4 years, 2020, and we still talk like almost every day. So make a bold career move. Not a lot of people are confident enough to join an app and actually message a stranger and be like, let's meet for coffee this week. And by the way, do this for both genders. If you're a woman, don't restrict yourself to women. If you're a man, don't restrict yourself to men. Reach out to people, message them, be like, hi, do you want to meet for coffee this week? And they will meet you for that. You can also do this on LinkedIn. I've done it a few times, but people might be a bit less, maybe they might be a bit more surprised, because it's not every day you meet someone who wants to meet you for coffee, right? And you might read different things into it. But with a site like Shaper, where the intention is to swipe someone, then go out and meet them and talk and connect, like, people are very, very, very willing to say, yes, let's do this. So that would be my number 2 tip. Join an active professional networking site, because it'll help you meet like-minded people like yourself. The next point, number 3, is that if you are applying for a new job and you get an offer for the job and you're not really sure if you can do it, like, you're really excited but you doubt that you're good enough, just take the job. Just take the job. The way you feel is not special, and I don't mean that in a rude way. I mean, people feel that way all the time. Not everyone starting a job feels like they're totally competent or competent enough for the job. So just take it. When I was going to start my professional career, I got accepted into 2 grad schemes. One of them, the one that I was more excited for, which is the one I took, is also the one that I was almost so sure that I wasn't good enough for, but I still took it anyway. It excited me and it scared me, and for some reason, like by some kind of like magic, I'm still here 4 years later. Yeah, I still feel as if I'm not good enough sometimes, but I've been in this job for 4 years and I've been getting consistently good like reviews, and our reviews are not every year. Our reviews are like every quarter, if not even more often than that. So like, trust me, you got to be on your toes. But you know, it's still been good, and I'm still happy that I took that job and I didn't play myself down and say, oh, let me go for the second one, because for the first one I don't think I can do it. I think it's too big for me. So if you're going for jobs and you apply for a job and then you get the job but you're like a bit scared, you don't know if you can do it, accept the job. The worst that can happen is that you get fired, and then okay, fine, you're gonna have to find a way to manage a few months before you get another job. That's the worst that could happen, I think. So if you apply for a job and you're like, oh my god, this is risky, I'm not sure if I have the skills, etc., just say yes and then try as much as possible to learn as you go. Number 4, if you have your eyes set on, like, you know, the upper echelons of your career, like of your career trajectory or your industry or your field, etc., a way to fast track that will be to speak to people who are in the same field as you, but at lower levels and at higher levels. Speak to as much as possible. Tell them you want to understand their career path, their trajectory, what they're working on, etc. And then when you do that, step back and literally write down everything they've ever told you. Use what you heard to create a map of the steps they took. And then the key here isn't to follow those steps. The key is to cut out the redundant steps. If you notice this person took 8 years to do this, but someone else took 2 years, you can tell yourself, okay, fine, how do I create the average of that is 5? How do I make sure I don't spend more than 5 years at that particular level? Or if you notice that this person did get to the highest part of the ladder, right? But there's this, you know, 5-year period that really shouldn't have existed. They made a mistake with their career, etc. You can then say, what steps can I put in to make sure this never happens, right? So if you want to fast track, it will be really important that you speak to a lot of people this year who are where you want to be, or even below you sometimes, and just see how they've charted their career, how their career has looked, and then take out the redundant paths and then create your own bespoke thing for yourself. So that's one. Number 5, I think this is number 5. Go back to school. You don't have to quit your job to do this. You can do a part-time degree, and it doesn't even have to be a degree. It can be an online course, it can be a book, it can be conferences, webinars, but go back to school. A lot of times by the time we leave university, a lot of what we've learned are outdated, especially if you're in a technical field, right? If you study something like philosophy, that's different. But if you're studying things like digital marketing, your degree from 2008 isn't going to cut it for you, okay? 14 years later. So go back to school, learn things. If you feel like you want to change career path, go back to school. Even if you don't want to change career path, go back to school, right? And maybe go back to school is the wrong phrase because it feels like you're reversing, go back. But, you know, school, keep learning. For me, I have 3 interests. There's 3. I was telling Danielle today, actually, that because I'm now creating a lot of music, there's a 1-year program in London in music production I want to do. I'm also creating a brand. So there's an art master's degree I want to do, and then also I would really like to actually become more like tech savvy. So I would also like to get eventually done like a computer science, like conversion master's degrees. So there's at least 3 master's degrees or 3 master's level degrees that I know that within the next few years I want to start and complete, and that's because they're very related to things I want to build out more in my life. And the education is very, very important, and I love learning, luckily. But even if you do not like learning, just try. You know, it's a bold move. You've got to keep yourself fresh. Whether you're in the job market or you're creating your own business, you need to keep yourself fresh. You need to keep your knowledge, your skills, your learning fresh. So go back to school. I think this is number 6, and it is start a side hustle. In fact, if I want to change this and make it very specific, create a pandemic proof vehicle. Create a pandemic proof side hustle. Create a pandemic proof side hustle. And you can replace pandemic proof with apocalypse proof. I know that's a heavy word, but we've seen how the last 2 years went with the whole pandemic. I'm not going to call the name. I don't know. I think there's something. I think YouTube has like guidelines around saying the word. But you've seen how the last 2 years worked with the pandemic. You've seen how a lot of people were let go from their jobs, put on furlough. Like we have people who went to university, did serious heavy degrees, dropping out and having to be delivery drivers or work in construction sites or be food pickers. Now those are honest jobs, nothing wrong with those jobs, but it's probably not where those people thought they'd be. Even 6 months, 3 months, 1 year before the pandemic, that's probably not what they thought. But suddenly they were let go from their jobs, and they had to take up jobs they never thought they'd take up before, jobs they had no interest in, right? So if you worked in theater or musical theater, so you couldn't, you know, perform live anymore. If you worked in hospitality, you were a waitress or a waiter, suddenly you couldn't serve people anymore physically, so you had to do something alternative, right? And I think anyone who, I'm not saying if you don't start a side hustle you haven't learned a lesson, because at the end of the day, starting a business is not for everyone, and I believe that. But I think, you know, if you really want to have a source of income that is delineated from you having to check in every day at work, working 8 hours, etc., that can still exist even when the world is coming to an end, the best bet will be to start your own business. Now, obviously, it doesn't mean that if you start your business, then the pandemic won't affect you. It affected businesses as much as people, but it's slightly different. And you can do a little. You can hedge things in your business, and you can switch around factors and play with variables to make you less susceptible to anything happening in the world. Rather than, let's say, if you just had a job and you got called in one day and just got put on furlough or let go. There's also the location thing that comes with that. There's like, if you were part of the rich during this whole pandemic thing, you could just leave the city where you are if you're in a congested place, and travel to another place where the pandemic didn't hit that much, and just enjoy your time and chill. And most people, myself included, don't at that moment have that luxury. Like, we still have to be in the city where we are, and we still have to go to work every single day, because that's just how our lives are set up. So, and you think about, you know, the war that's just broken out in this part of the world, and then you think back to when Ebola was a thing, and I'm still really fucking amazed that, Ebola did not wipe out the world. Ebola was so deadly, like if you got infected with it, you were almost certainly gonna die. That's crazy. I mean, imagine if Ebola spread through the world the way that this latest pandemic has. There would be no one else. There would be no one on this planet, right? But that's not the point. Anyway, I'm just saying, these things aren't ending. Ebola happened, and then suddenly, less than 5 years, there was this latest pandemic, and then pandemic is barely over, and then there's the war breaking out. There's always something happening. So like, start a side hustle, not even for vibes, but so that you can create something that is pandemic proof, epidemic proof, war proof, just something that if a bad thing happens, you won't be left to the whims of your employer, right? You can still be a bit on the steering wheel. Now, obviously, it comes with its own challenges, because, for example, you can start a business and then hire people, and then suddenly when something hits the world, then those people are now depending on you. You're their employer. But, don't think about that not for now. Just start working on a side hustle. One day, it might be the thing that saves you, right? I'm working on some things at the moment now. They're pretty slow burn, slow build, but I'm so glad I'm working on them, because eventually it will give me a lot more freedom to do things and go where I want to go, live how I want to live, etc. Number 7, apply to a job that pays you at least 50% more than you currently earn while you're doing the same thing that you're currently doing. And you might think that doesn't make any sense, but I assure you, there's somebody right now that's earning twice, thrice what you're earning, and is doing exactly the same thing you're doing, okay? So it's not a matter of like if it's possible. It is possible. You just need to either switch your job, switch your employer, switch something, or actually those are the two main things: switch your job, switch your employer, that kind of thing. So for example, if I want to hire someone to help me produce my music, I might be like, oh, the only thing I can afford is £100, but there's somebody in the world who can pay that producer £1,000 for that same beat, right? So that's one of the bold career moves you can make this year. Look for a job very similar to what you're currently doing, but it's paying like at least 50% more, and then apply to it. You might need to apply to a lot of jobs. It might need to turn into a bit of a numbers game, but it's one of those things where if you get it done and it works for you, you're gonna be so happy you tried it. You're gonna be so happy you tried it. Chances are, if someone's paying you $500 for something, you can find someone who will pay you $750 for that same thing, and that's a 50% increase. Yeah, just take it as a challenge. Just say, if there's one thing I do this year professionally, I want to find someone who's willing to pay me 50% more in this role, but again, it will be a role that's very similar to what I'm currently doing. You don't have to change your employer. You can actually negotiate your salary with your current employer and see if you can get it for up to 50%. Obviously, that's a bit more work, because you're going to need to do things like share your latest performance review, share like internal, external feedback you've received, both from people you work with, and maybe if you're client facing, what the clients have said. If there's any publications, industry publications that have mentioned your achievements, that's good as well, because it means that somebody working for them is getting industry acknowledgement, meaning that they're being recognized as the best, the best in their field. Company awards, testimonials, etc. So yeah, you can also try and get that 50% extra from your company, but you will often need to document why you think you're good for it. So maybe you can combine efforts, right? Apply also for other jobs from other employers that can pay up to 50% more for the same thing, or just try and negotiate and ask for that raise from your current employer. Number 8 is for you to move to a bigger city. I'm not even going to spend a lot of time on this because it's common sense. If, let's say, you're in a job where, okay, all the jobs in that field aren't concentrated in one small town. So basically, you're in a job where you can get jobs anywhere in the world or anywhere in the country. You're going to have a lot less opportunities if you're in a town of 100,000 people than if you're in a city with 1 million people or 10 million people. So if you're currently living in a small town, in a small village, that kind of thing, one bold career you can do this 2022 is actually to just move to a big city and relocate. One thing I forgot to mention, by the way, when it comes to asking for a raise is that two things. Number one, be ready for objections. A lot of times employers are not very keen to increase your salary because, they can get you for cheap, why increase it? But also because sometimes they would have made projections based on your salary and now this changes things. But yeah, be ready for objections, but don't shy away and don't take it personal. Just defend yourself as much as you can. And if you have sponsors within the organization that can pitch in for you as well, then that's great. And then also just be cognizant of the current financial environment for your firm. Let's say your company has actually just finished their year-end accounting and they made a huge loss or something like that. That's probably not going to be the best time to be asking for a raise, because they might just be less likely to be able to pay you extra or be willing to pay you extra, because it feels like, oh, the company's not doing good, so we're not making as much money and you want us to be paying extra for stuff. Like, doesn't make sense. Now I have kind of lost count on where I am in this list, but I'm just going to add, how many more things? 4 things. So 4 more points to go. The next point, you should learn a new skill. No matter how unrelated to your current job it is, just learn a new skill, right? During lockdown, I started doing music. And so I started learning, I basically started writing songs in 2020. In 2021, I started recording myself. And then in this 2022, I actually want to start learning editing now that I'm on YouTube, but also want to learn mixing and mastering for music. And yes, it's quite different from, you know, financial consulting, which is my day-to-day job, but it's creating career assets for me in another lane. If I ever decide to fully switch, then I'm learning skills. And even if I don't decide to ever fully switch, I'm still learning really useful, nice skills. I'm keeping my brain fresh and keeping my neurons active. So yeah, learn a new skill, no matter how unrelated or small. And if you don't know what skill you want to learn, just in the meantime, read more. Find a topic you're interested in, even if it's related to a craft. Let's say it's marketing, or even if it's memory, anything you're interested in, and just create like a list, and you can just like focus on reading 1 book a month, right? By the end of 1 year, you'd be so much more knowledgeable and skilled in that particular topic than if you didn't do anything at all. Okay, 3 more points to go. The next point is you should start to build an audience. When I think back in I don't know if it was 2018 or 2019, I decided to start like an email list, just for the sake of starting an email list. And so every week I would send out an article that I had written on like organizational behavior. So things like how to spot passive aggressive people at work, how to deal with imposter syndrome. People really liked what I was writing. And I actually told myself I wanted to get 100 subscribers within a year. It was a free newsletter, but actually within 8 months, I already had surpassed 1,800 subscribers. I couldn't even keep up I couldn't even keep up with the requests anymore. There's so many people I didn't even get the chance to like input in that email into my system. So it probably was more than 2,000. And I think that's really useful, because if you start creating an email list and just focus on a topic you like, so you can talk to them every week, you never know where that thing can go. If you then decide to create a side hustle in future, you then have, you know, a few thousand people who are already used to listening to you every week or every few days, and they could be your first customers. And even if you don't decide to start a side hustle, it's just a way to keep fresh and create a community around your own personal brand. And in fact, the newsletter can also be its own side hustle. So I have a very close friend, I have a friend who I worked with in my current company, and he joined as a grad, and he had a newsletter. It was a weekly newsletter, and he charged $5 per month per person. And apparently last year, when he was still like 23 or something, he sold the newsletter, like literally just a newsletter. He sold that to a buyer for £200,000, right? And now he's in an incubator in London, and he's like working on a Web 3.0 startup. So you never know where these things can go. Build a community around yourself. Like, attention is really a currency in this day and age, and you want as much as possible on yourself, because you can leverage that in future. Comment below if you actually want me to convince him to come on this YouTube channel and just talk about how he was able to start a newsletter and within a few years sell it for 200 grand to like a buyer. Let me know if that's what you want, and I'll find a way to blackmail him to come onto this YouTube channel. Okay, I know there should be 2 more points, but I'm just going to make it one. I think the second point is not too important, or is it? But the final point, don't be afraid to sacrifice the good for the great. And I say this because when I was joining my current firm, there was a girl who was part of the grad scheme, and a few weeks into it, I found out that she actually had a YouTube channel with over 50,000 subscribers, many videos. You could clearly tell that that was her thing, but maybe she was afraid of people seeing it or anything. She literally hid the entire channel and all the videos. She literally chucked away such a huge opportunity vehicle because she wanted to satisfy the 95. Do you think if I had 50,000 subscribers right now, I would be caring about some 95? There's nothing wrong in having the 95, but like the opportunity in YouTube, the fact that you have 50k subscribers, it already means that you're the kind of person people like to watch, right? And you can build it. Someone who has 50k subscribers, I believe, can have 1 million, right? And even beyond. But instead she hid it because she didn't, like, when I mean hid, she literally made it not visible. So if you search her on YouTube, you can't find her because she wanted to appease the gatekeepers of the 9 to 5. And I don't like that, you know. No, you know, you can't be doing that kind of thing. So don't be sacrificing the bigger picture for the smaller things, right? YouTube is, for example, is a great source of income. I'm not getting any money from YouTube, but I know if you stick to it long enough and you do it well, it's something that can be bringing you quite passive monthly recurring income for yourself, right? And I honestly think monthly recurring income that is passive is way more powerful than like a salary where you have to go and hand over 30 to 50% of your waking hours to someone in return for a paycheck, and if you don't work, you don't get paid. So if I see anyone sacrificing a huge opportunity vehicle of monthly passive income, and where they're already showing traction and progress and momentum, and they're sacrificing it for the insecurity of a 9 to 5, that's just working backwards. It makes no sense. So yeah, that was actually, I hope, the 13th reason why, like, or rather the 13th bold career move you can do, like, to don't be afraid of, you know, to not be afraid of sacrificing the good for the great. And because I like you, I'm going to actually say the final one I was going to say, which is find someone similar level in your field and take on a personal, like a special project with them, right? I've taken on one with Danielle. It's not a big deal. It's like a fashion thing. It's like a t-shirt. We haven't really done much on it. We just like brainstormed, did initial design, and we're going to obviously smoke test it to see how it works. But it can be anything, and it doesn't even have to be outside your company. It can be within the company. It can be a diversity and inclusion initiative. It can be a business solution, like a business development solution that you present to your senior management. Anything, just, you know, work on a special project with someone else from work or similar level to you in your career. It will teach you things about working with people. It will make you go faster in whatever special project that is, because you have a partner, and you learn new skills across the way. So yes, hopefully this video talking about 14 bold career moves you can make in 2022, hopefully the video has been helpful. Please, if you've watched this far, I appreciate it so much. Let me know by commenting in the comments which one of the 14 has been your favorite and which one you actually will be doing this year, or you think, okay, definitely I want to try that out. So let me know. Thanks for watching.